Father of ex-Detroit mayor released from prison.
Michigan lakes clean and clear. I'm Dan Kampanen.
I'm Hannah Schutzkis, and this is your Public Eye News. New Iron Mountain residents are arraigned on meth charges after police discovered a meth lab in their home. Police discovered ingredients to make meth as well as the drug itself after visiting the home for a welfare check on the couple's child. The two are being charged with operating and maintaining a meth lab, operating the lab in the presence of a minor, and delivery and possession of meth, each of which is punishable by 20 years in prison. And another meth bust, this time in Ishpeming. The suspect was found in an apartment located in a neighborhood where several other meth operations have been found by law enforcement. Ishpeming police discovered meth components as well as evidence that meth was cooked inside the apartment complex. Police have not made any arrests yet.
A plane has crashed into a building near Wichita's Mid-Continent Airport. According to spokesman Steve Phillips of Flight Safety International, a Hawker Beechcraft King Air crashed through the roof of the flight safety building. The FAA is saying that the twin-engine plane lost an engine on takeoff and crashed into the two-story building across the road. The roof on the building's east side has now collapsed, and one person has been transported to the medical center with critical injuries, and 10 people have not been accounted for. Federal officials say 2 locations in Michigan are being dropped off a list of 43 highly contaminated sites in the Great Lakes region. The EPA said today that cleanup has been completed at White Lake in Muskegon County and Deer Lake in the Upper Peninsula. Both were designated as areas of concern in 1987 under an agreement between the United States and Canada to make efforts at cleaning out toxic hotspots in the Great Lakes watershed. The total number of hotspots taken off the list is now at 7, with 4 of those being in the United States. The EPA says several sites are on the verge of being taken off as well.
The first 24 hours of Detroit's Angel Night has passed, during which 28 fires were reported in the city. Of those 28, officials reported at least 7 fires were suspicious. Over 3,500 citizens volunteered for the event, which includes patrolling Detroit's neighborhood to maintain safety over the 3 days before Halloween. Angels Night was created as a response to Devil's Night, the notoriously dangerous night before Halloween. The father of Detroit's ex-mayor Kwame Kilpatrick has been transferred from federal prison to a halfway house. Bernard Kilpatrick was sentenced to 15 months after failing to disclose almost $200,000 in income on a tax return. He is scheduled to be released from the halfway house in February. Kwame is also serving time, 28 years in prison from racketeering conspiracy, rigging contracts, and negotiating bribes. And we'll be back with your national and international news after the break.
Next time on the PBS Arts Fall Festival,
there is work to be done.
Michael Feinstein celebrates the reopening of New York City's legendary icon of entertainment, the Rainbow Room. With guest stars Christine Ebersole, Cheyenne Jackson, the Manzari Brothers, and many more. Next time on the PBS Arts Fall Festival, Michael Feinstein at the Rainbow Room, Friday, October 31st at 9/8 Central, only on PBS.
Welcome back. A thick stream of lava will be crossing the main street of Pahoa, Hawaii, and could soon begin to envelop over a dozen homes. The slow-moving lava has been moving at 30 feet per hour. The nearest home was only 100 feet away from the lava flow late last night. 20 families in the lava's path have been evacuated. And Troy Scott of the Hawaii County Civil Defense Agency said some residents want to see the lava move over their community. Those that do will be in a safe place far back enough that the lava so they can have some closure. Scott said, quote, "We're going to be very sensitive to the fact that they'll be losing their home, and this could be a catastrophic event," end quote. The slow-moving lava made its way towards Pahoa this past June and could go on for longer than 30 years, according to the United States Geological Survey. And a nurse from Maine has broken her quarantine that officials wanted for 11 more days. Omar Villafranca reports from Dallas.
Casey Hickox flew the coop. The nurse broke her quarantine and went for a bike ride with her boyfriend in Fort Kent, Maine today. State troopers followed her but did not try to stop her because they did not have a judge's permission to do so. Hickox returned from treating Ebola patients in West Africa last Friday and spoke to reporters outside her house last night.
There are things that we know work, and all aid workers are willing to do those things. But I'm not willing to stand here and let my civil rights be violated when it's not science-based.
Hickox was quarantined inside a New Jersey hospital tent after she returned from overseas, and officials said she developed a fever. She tested negative for Ebola and returned to Maine on Monday. She wants to resume her normal life. She said she promised officials she would take her own car and continue to monitor her temperature.
This has all been a little overwhelming for me, but I still believe that I'm fighting for something much more than myself.
Guidelines from the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommend daily monitoring for healthcare workers like Hickox who have come into contact with Ebola patients. But some states, like Maine, are going above and beyond those guidelines. President Obama, who is pushing for less aggressive quarantines, travels to Maine later today to rally for a Democratic gubernatorial candidate. Omar Villafranca, CBS News.
For the next few days, we will be talking about issues related to the upcoming election. Today's segment features Caitlin Connon talking about minimum wage laws.
Welcome to Poli-Sci on the Fly. I'm Caitlin Connon, and with me today is NMU economics professor Tawny Ferrarini, and we'll be talking about the new Michigan minimum wage laws. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
So Michigan recently passed this new minimum wage law. Could you give me a quick rundown on what the law entails?
Simply put, they've increased minimum wage from $7.40 per hour, and it is now $8.15 an hour.
And they did that in a stepped program kind of thing?
That actually is in the state of Michigan. They did it effective immediately Labor Day of 2014, but it's going to increase by 2018 to $9.25.
Okay. So how will this new law affect residents in the Upper Peninsula?
Well, the residents who are able to work at the new minimum wage will get a boost in income. Unfortunately, those who are not lucky enough to keep their jobs will lose their jobs, or they'll see a decrease in the number of hours in which they work.
And how many residents do you think will lose their jobs, and how many do you think will keep them? I mean, I'm sure that's kind of not something you can specifically say.
Yeah, it's difficult, but you go to most of your retail stores, or you go to the service industry, hotel and motel and restaurants, and those are the people that are affected heavily by this type of boost.
Okay, and so small business owners, how will they be affected?
Small business owners operate on a really, really slight profit margin, and so they're going to probably have to reduce the number of people employed and or cut their hours.
Okay, and so we talked about Upper Peninsula residents. How will employees all over the state be affected in specific ways, like jobs? Are they going to be taxed more? Are they going to be able to afford more groceries, like good and bad things?
Well, the unfortunate thing is when wages increase, that is followed by increases in prices. And so it depends on the pace in which prices increase and wages increase. But you also have to back this up with what's going on federally. And the Obama administration has also increased the federal minimum wage. So we're going to be seeing an increase in minimum wage, and it's unclear whether the net job gains will be positive or negative.
Okay. Well, that is all the time we have for today, so thank you for coming and talking with us about the minimum wage laws. This has been Poli-Sci on the Fly. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to vote on Tuesday, November 4th.
Stay tuned, because after the break, we will have your weather and your sports.
There is no perfect painting and there is no perfect solution. Any image that I make could be thousands of images.
I have a real appreciation for how complex it is to make something that changes with every view.
The revolution that is happening in perception has to do with humans designing machines and software to see for us.
This Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back. I'm Douglas Hardy with your Public Eye News. And if you look behind me at the Academic Mall of Northern Michigan University, you can see it's pretty dreary out. Doesn't look like too much fun for anybody walking out there. And you can see the sidewalks are slick with rain. Currently, there is light rain with temperature of 44 degrees and winds out of the west-southwest going 6 miles an hour. The barometric pressure is 30.02 inches and holding. Tonight, we can expect rain that will shift into snow later on, with a low of 33 degrees and winds out of the north at 24 miles an hour. Tomorrow, we're expected to see snow with a high of 35 degrees and winds out of the north at 26 miles an hour. Looking around the UP, you can see that in Sault Ste. Marie, it's 44 and cloudy. In Manistee, it's 43 and cloudy. Escanaba's 45 and cloudy. The same with Menominee, 45 and cloudy. Iron Mountain is 43 and cloudy. Ironwood is 39 and cloudy. Up in Houghton, it's 40 and cloudy. And back here in Marquette, as I said earlier, it's 44 with slight rain. Looking ahead, we can see that Saturday, there will be a high of 41 degrees, a low of 28 degrees, and partly cloudy. Sunday, we'll see a high of 44 degrees, a low of 35 degrees, and also partly cloudy. And finally, on Monday, we can see a high of 50 degrees, a low of 42 degrees, and partly cloudy as well. With snow right around the corner, I could really use going somewhere a lot warmer, like, say, San Francisco.
Yep, definitely. Big things going on in San Francisco. Madison Bumgarner put on a pitching performance for the ages by pitching the San Francisco Giants to their third championship in the last 5 years, beating the Kansas City Royals 3-2. The big left-handed pitcher came out of the bullpen to throw 5 scoreless innings on 2 days' rest. Along with that, he struck out 14 batters in a row before Alex Gordon sent one to center field. The Kansas City Royals, though, have nothing to be ashamed of after making it to the playoffs and the World Series for the first time since 1985. The Detroit Red Wings rolled to yet another victory last night against the Washington Capitals, led by Jimmy Howard's 25 saves in the net. The win, though, didn't come easy for the Red Wings, as the Capitals took the lead in the second period. But then in the third period, Red Wings center Justin Abdelkader scored 2 goals within a span of 6 minutes to give the Red Wings the lead. Pavel Datsyuk finished off the Capitals with his goal with 53.9 seconds left to play. The Red Wings are in action tomorrow against the LA Kings at 7:30. And finally, the Saints and Panthers play for first place in the NFC South tonight in Carolina. The Saints are looking to get back on track after a bad start to the season before their win last week against the Packers. Currently, the Saints are 3-4. On the other hand, the Panthers are looking to get their first win in 3 games after losing the last 2 games and tying the other game. Look for both teams to put on an offensive show, as both teams have explosive offenses that can put up points. Kickoff tonight is at 8:25. So speaking of the Saints and Panthers, I hear that you have a story about a guy that probably could do something the Saints and Panthers can't do, right?
That I do. Knit 1, purl 2, and run 26 miles. David Babcock will be running the New York Marathon this Sunday while knitting. Babcock is an art teacher at the University of Central Missouri and a Guinness record holder for, well, you guessed it, knitting a 12-foot-long scarf while running the Kansas City Marathon last year. Unfortunately, he won't be able to use knitting needles because of safety regulations at this Sunday's marathon. He will have to use his fingers instead, and he'll use this unusual skill to raise awareness for Alzheimer's. And it's not even Halloween yet, but people at the U.S. Capitol are already thinking about Christmas. An 88-foot-tall white spruce from the Chippewa National Forest in Minnesota will become this year's Capitol tree. The tree was cut down yesterday and will be wrapped and transported to the Capitol, but not before making 30 stops on the way and arriving hopefully in early December.
Wow, so definitely a guy knitting there. And
Yeah, I mean, I just think that'd be cool to be like, hey, honey, I'm going on a run for a little bit. What, do you want a scarf, a hat? I can make some mittens.
Definitely a lady charmer right there.
Yeah, he could definitely charm them up. And that's all the time we have for you today here at Public Eye News. But tune in again tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced in studios located in the Edgar L. Hardin Learning Resources Center by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television.